2 years ago, when I moved from Nigeria to the UK, I fully expected that my career was going to continue progressing at the same pace or trajectory. That was quite interesting as an idea to have, because prior to that, I was working as country head of human resources for a renewable energy business, and I had oversight for all of the HR functions in the country. It was a job that I absolutely enjoyed, and I would love to continue. However, my moving to the UK meant that I had to transition out of that role. That's fully understandable, because the job, as you know, HR roles are very high touch, and in some cases it might be impossible for the role to be done remotely, especially if you are the most senior person and you're responsible for a whole country. Now, when I moved to the UK, my aspiration was that I was going to find a job at a similar level of responsibility. I'm laughing. I'm laughing just thinking about it, because, I mean, really? Serious. I have to be serious with this video. That didn't happen. That didn't happen for various reasons, and I want to share why with you. I was moving to the UK as a family of 5, 3 kids, 1 husband. And it was a lot different from what I had originally anticipated. Of course, let me give you a snapshot of how life was in Nigeria. Life in Nigeria included a nanny, a driver, a housekeeper, and of course, my job, which was the focal part of my identity. Moving to the UK meant that I now had direct responsibility for 3 children, all under the age of 12 at the time when I moved, and that carried some implications that I probably didn't fully understand before. And life in the UK is vastly different from how I imagined or how I anticipated it would be. First, I did not anticipate this level of housework. I did not anticipate this level of housework. But then again, without a housekeeper and a nanny in the picture, who was going to do the house chores? It needed to be divvied up somehow. I struggled with that, and I'll be very honest with you. I really, really struggled with it, because prior to now, I don't do house chores. I could afford to get a nanny. I could afford to get a housekeeper. I don't have the time to do house chores. I had a very demanding and interesting job that I absolutely loved. So house chores was not in the mix. Moving to the UK, that became a part of my reality. I'll tell you a bit more about that later on. Then, childcare. Of course, having no nanny in the picture meant that someone has to be responsible for pick-up, drop-offs, and being available or being present when the kids are home. Because of course, in the UK, if your kids are below a certain age, they can't be alone in the house. You need to have a minder. Of course, minders cost money. Another reality. And then there was just that bigger question of not having that support system, you know, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, the picking up stuff. None of that was available anymore. And that took a lot of adjusting. That required a lot of mental adjustment. Now, to think about my career, of course, I was fully expecting that I was going to find a job at that similar level of responsibility. And I would remember that time when we were leaving Nigeria, I was interviewing for a role, and that role was going to see me overseeing 3 countries. So it was perfect. For some reason, I didn't get that job. And of course, so many applications thereafter, you know, I am I am equally, I know how it feels when you keep getting those emails, those emails where you hear, I'm sorry to tell you. But you know what was most profound was that I needed to sit. I needed to take a deep breath to recalibrate what was going to be my career now. It wasn't something that I thought I was ready for, to recalibrate, because already I was going on a very fantastic trajectory. I was doing well, and I fully intended to continue to do well. But there are other realities that I didn't put into consideration there were other factors that became my reality that were not my reality previous to moving to the UK. And it was something that I needed to sit with. It was something I needed to process. It was something I needed to find a plan around it. And I understand that, everyone's got a different set of experiences. So I hesitated to share. First I needed to make sense. I needed to make sense of what this new reality meant for me. But more importantly, there was the question of, so what am I going to do with my career now? But it wasn't an easy question to answer. It wasn't an answer that was straight out, because I had more compelling reasons. I had children who were now entirely dependent on me and my husband for for care. Those things that your nanny would, between your nanny and your driver, school pickups and drop-offs was fine. There were after-school clubs. So that ensured that you had a big chunk of time to yourself. That just wasn't going to work anymore like that. Because, you see, moving countries as a family, everyone was going through transition. I was going through a transition. My husband was going through a transition. The children were equally going through this transition. And someone needed to be available who was equally transitioning. Someone who was equally transitioning needed to be available. To be available to support, to be available to, all of those things all of those support structures that we took for granted because it was just how we lived. It was just how we lived. Those things are not there. So the reality is that you have to sit as a family to have a conversation, to say, this is it. Like, this is it. This is our reality now. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to manage it? That was a big one. There's that part where, yes, the decision has been made. The follow-up actions need to be taken. But mentally and emotionally, we're still transitioning. That was me. That was me for 2 years. I honestly struggled. I honestly struggled. I struggled with the fact that why is there so much housework to do? Why is there so much cleaning to do? Like, who is going to be responsible for this cleaning? Who? I struggled. I struggled. I struggled with that. I struggled with the pickups and the drop-offs. I love my kids. Trust me, I do. But that meant that meant that meant you either could not, you know, travel far for certain jobs. If I found a job that I was really interested in and it was far away from where I lived, I absolutely cannot take that job because how am I going to manage the school runs? Between my husband and I, how are we going to manage the school runs? What about pickups? Pickups, 3:15. 3:15 every day. Someone needs to pick them up. And of course, if they're at a certain age, someone needs to be at home with them. That became the reality. And that became the reality that was even much more compelling than managing my career the way it was. And then I struggled with that. I struggled with that because this was not the plan. This is not the plan. Like, this is not the plan. This is not the plan. The plan was to get another HRO. The plan was to continue move. This is not the plan. I don't know about you. I don't know how you managed it, but I struggled. I struggled. I struggled so much with the idea that this whole trip just feels like a drawback, a professional drawback. Like, it felt like that. It felt like that. And it was just hard to get through that. But it had to be my choice. It had to be my choice. And I had to understand why I was doing it. What's the reason? And I have to be at peace with that. It took me 2 years. It took me 2 years. Of course, someone could say, oh, I mean, come on now, don't you love your children? Don't you love your husband? I do. But I don't think it required that sacrifice. So how did I manage? I'm sure that's the question on your mind. I'll tell you. First off, the fact that we were in a new environment meant that we needed to reconfigure. You know how being in Nigeria, having all of that support system, having a nanny, a driver, a housekeeper, a cook, several catering support system, you could just get food done, get food cooked, bring it home, put it in the freezer, and there was food. All of that came at a cost, but it was a cost that we could handle because obviously we could do that. Coming over to the UK, being responsible for the cooking, shopping, cleaning, childcare, pick-up, drop-offs, mind them after school, required that I start to think, so what am I going to do now? What does this mean for me? Do I still get to do the job that I enjoy? Mind you, I enjoy my job. I love what I do. What does this mean for me? What does this mean? Like, what does this mean? Does this mean, A, I don't do my job anymore. B, I now have a new job, being the primary caregiver for the children, the nanny, the driver, the housekeeper, the cook, the shopping lady. And then there's that part of a huge mismatch with my own image, my self-image. Is this what I anticipated that I was going to be doing now? Hey, like, is this what I am going to be doing now? I struggled. I really, really struggled with it. Because that's not the plan. No. Moving to the UK, this is not part of the plan. This is not the plan. That's not the plan. But the reality on ground is different. The reality on ground is very different. In the first instance, what are we going to do about the kids? And now if you've moved and you've moved with kids, you know. you know if you've moved with kids, someone has to take responsibility for them. One parent has to take responsibility for them. If it's not a parent, it's a family member. If it's not a family member, it's a close friend. If it's not a close friend, I don't know, maybe someone from your church or from whatever. Someone has to take responsibility for them. There's no way the children are magically going to take care of themselves. Like, no. Someone has to take responsibility for them. Now, mind you, I'd mentioned that I came with 3 kids, all under the age of 12. And of course, looking at how our reality was, having all of that support system, your guess is as good as mine. There's quite a lot of work to do with the kids as well. Helping them, training them, teaching them to be able to take care of things, to be responsible, to be able to pick up after themselves, to be able to support with cleaning, shopping, cooking, general house care, because now it fell on all of us. It's not my responsibility to do. Yes, I had the portfolio and I was leading on it, but they were my team members. In that sense, they were my team members, and the work needed to be assigned out. They needed to be trained. Even I needed to be trained. No kidding. And that was what happened. So after struggling for a really, really long time, I started to settle. Now, you know how someone says, oh, I hope you guys are all settled. No, we're not. We're not. We're not settled. We're settling. We're not. It's not something like you do and it's like full stop, we're settled, done, dusted. No, we're not. I've been in here 2 years and I am settling. I'm settling. So in that time, reflecting on it now and why I'm sharing this is because I feel like, our experiences, yes, you know how you feel like, oh, it's happening to me alone. I'm alone in this. Your experiences are not unique to you alone. There are many families who moved countries with children and they go through the exact same thing. Many have given up really, really great roles, really, really fantastic career, moved at the time when it was like they were just getting set to soar in their career. And they've had to move for various reasons. So we're not even going to try and enumerate the reasons. But now that we're here, how do we support each other to settle? And that's what this is about. One of the things that really threw me, beyond the house chores, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, forgot the laundry. One of the things that really threw me was how previously very little had known the kids. Yeah, I mean, I would see them, so yes, I know them, but I wasn't interacting with them so much. And I wasn't seeing, all of these different aspects of their personality that previously grandma, their nanny, the driver, the housekeeper were more in touch with them than I was. And now that I was beginning to see them, I was like, what? What did you say? Why did you say that? How can you think that? It was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing. And I started to struggle with my parenting. Of course, being in the UK and as with other countries, discipline is a different subject entirely. How you discipline, the approach to discipline, very different. And you need to be aware of that. But I was constantly getting frustrated by, my inability to manage them. Like, I was like, I should be able to manage them. They are my kids after all. It was adding to my stress. So I sought help. I sought help from a positive parenting coach. And I think we had a 3-month session together. It really helped. It opened my eyes to so many things about developmental stages of preteens and teenagers. And that was very helpful. Because I honestly thought I was going to go mad. But I got help. So if you're in a similar situation and you're really struggling with managing your kids, there's no shame in it. There is no shame in it. There is seek help. Talk to other parents. Find out how they're coping. What exactly are they doing? What are you not doing right? What are your blind spots? How can it get better? Because the more you're struggling, remember, everyone is transitioning. You're transitioning. Your spouse is transitioning. The children are transitioning. And in this new country, you guys, you and your husband, you're the only adults that they know from before all of this. And besides, remember, they didn't ask to move. The children didn't ask to move. It's in a rare occasion. So I'm moving because of my children. Maybe there are health concerns. Maybe there are other, considerations. But it's usually the parents that decide to move. The children did not ask to move. So I got help. And things got a lot better. I understood how to navigate. I understood how to navigate my own emotions. And I understood how to better manage the children. And again, see, it's very important that I say this. The old ways of disciplining, of, trying to manage them will most likely not work. Because the children are in a new environment. The environment is molding them. Is molding them in a particular way with a particular set of values. You have to counteract that influence. Now, you can't counteract that influence with, you know, how you say, I'll fight fire for fire. Just the parts alone. Fight fire for fire. No, that's not going to work. No. Fire for fire won't work. So you need to find help to understand what needs to be done and how you need to do it, because nobody's going to do it for you. That became a key part of my reality. The other key part of my reality was time. Like, where does time go? Between 9 a.m. and 3:15 is 2 hours. Yeah. 9 a.m. to 3:15 is 2 hours. Where does time go? Between when you drop the kids and pick them up, it is 2 hours. No one can tell me anything else. It's 2 hours. So, managing your time. Now, the question is, in that 2 hours, what can you do? What could I do? And you know, the funny thing, between house care, home care, child care, trying to understand the environment, trying to understand the system, I realized that I honestly didn't even want to work. Like, do I have to work on top of all of that? I don't want to. I don't have any leftover energy. I don't have any leftover time. To do what? Like, it's lunch has to be prepared before 3:15, mind you. And then there's dinner. Where's the time? There's no time. There's no time. So I needed to go back to the drawing board as well. Meal plan, meal prep, all of the things that I would have expected and instructed my ever dutiful Auntie Blessing to get done. Someone has to get it done. The shopping, the planning, the prepping, the cooking, the freezing, defrost it, bring it out, do a timetable. Oh my God. Someone has to do it. Now, you may be someone who prior to now, you were just managing fine. You were on top of all of this. No, I wasn't on top of it. No, I hired someone who was on top of it so that I could do something else. And now, I needed to be on top of it. I needed to understand. Okay, so where do they do bulk shopping? How do you do bulk shopping? All right, so bulk shopping needs to be done, and then the things needs to be stored away. What needs to be... It was a lot. But slowly, I started to get the hang of it. You know that market you go at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. here? I found those ones around here. Go there twice a year, actually. And just buy and stock so that we can plan and buy back time. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, that's my reality right now, this video is for you. I really wanted to show you that you're not alone, because that has been my reality as well for the last 2 years. So how did I manage? So with the kids, of course, my husband was such great support. It was such a great support. But I also sought external help for things that I just could not think through. Like, I could not walk my way through. I got a coach. For house care and things like that, I started to speak out, to ask people, how do you do it? Where do you do this? How do you shop? How do you get around all of this? And I started to get help. I had friends who were much better than me at managing the house, managing kids, managing cooking, managing planning for the house. And they supported me. They helped me, they gave advice, they drew up meal plans with me. We will talk about how to plan for it, how to do the shopping, how to properly, manage it, freeze it so that when you need to use it, it's in a state that it's probably half done. That was a lot. That was a lot. And I remember at some point in time, I felt like I was losing myself. Now I'm doing my nails. I couldn't. It just wasn't. It was just. It was a lot. It was a lot that I needed to manage. Doing my nails was not a priority. But after a while, I lacked that self-care. I needed it. So you have to look after yourself. I started to look after myself. Because I needed that space. Do you look after yourself? If you haven't, you need to. You need to. To be able to do everything that you have to do now, you need to look after yourself. So what does looking after yourself mean for you? Is it getting your nails done? Is it getting your hair done? Is it getting your lashes done? Is it getting your facials done? Is it getting a massage? Is it going for a spa day? Yes, someone will say, oh, it's expensive. Yes, but you are working, right? Whatever it is you're doing, you're working. And that amount of money is not just meant to contribute to the rent and shop for food. No, a part of that needs to go into your self-care. And I realized that. And I started to do that. And that helped me feel better. Yeah, I know you might be thinking, it did help me feel better. Try it. It might help you feel better too. So I did that. Then came the big question of, so what could I do now? Even when I had interviews for jobs that were senior level, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that no, that's not going to be helpful now. It's not like I don't want it, but it's not needed. And here is the part that I probably would say is quite sobering. So I understand the reality of many migrant families, especially migrant families where they had two professionals who were doing very good in Nigeria or very good in their home country and have now moved countries. And of course, there's that expectation beyond individual expectation as to what their careers would look like. There's also that expectation around finance, bills, managing payments, expenses, and things like that. But the reality here is that the support system that you had in your home country is not existent. If you would have it, you would have to pay for it. Now, while I cannot legislate over what you do, I can only share from what I know and what worked for me. I have seen instances where, both parents are, how do I say this very delicately? Both parents are working hard to provide materially. That's to be commended. At least, yes, it's to be commended. You have to be a responsible person to work hard. So that's to be commended. But the question is, at what cost? We've had many horrible stories of children being taken away by social services. Why? Neglect. Neglect is a very broad word. Children were not looked after. Children were endangered. Children were left alone unattended. Children were in terrible circumstances. The question is, so we left our home country in search of a better opportunity. Not for ourselves, for the children. That's usually the story. Oh, we left, why did you move? And you ask 10 migrant families, why did you move? Well, we moved so that we could give our children a better opportunity and all of that. And then you lose sight of the goal. You lose focus of the goal because there are bills to be paid. I understand that there are bills to be paid. I live in the UK, so I understand that there are bills to be paid. You lose sight of that, providing a better opportunity for the children. And everyone is working. Everyone is busy. Some are even working shifts that are running, such that as you're coming in, I'm going. And no one is looking after the children. And remember, the environment is constantly molding the children. The environment is constantly exerting such a high pressure on them. So, as a family, again, I can't speak for you. I can only share from what works for me. As a family, one of us has to be available. One of us has to be available to manage the children, to provide oversight, to provide support, to continue to inculcate in them the values that we want inculcated in them. So my question to you is, if you're a migrant family, and I don't want you to come at me with, oh, so why is it me that has to do it? Any one of you should do it, but somebody should do it. Any one of you or your spouse. But you can't afford to leave the children unprotected in this environment. Someone needs to be able to keep a close eye to understand what's going on. And that person needs to be able to do it from a time perspective, from a mental space perspective, from an emotional perspective. So you have the time, you have the mental space, and you have the emotional bandwidth to follow up, to find out what's going on. And trust me, I've been there as well. I know, because I was constantly questioning myself, is this what I'm going to be doing now? It was like a constant question I couldn't turn off in my mind. Is this what I'm going to be doing now? Is this what I'm going to be doing now? Is this what I'm going to be doing now? Is this what my life is going to be about now? And the answer to that is yes. Yes. This is the focus now. So the question for you is, what are you choosing as the focus? What are you choosing? What are you choosing as the focus? If you've come with kids, you're in a different level entirely. Much different from someone who's come as a single person or someone who came you're in a different category entirely. And that must be reflected in your choices. So yes, there is the need to provide materially. There are bills to be paid. But the question is, at what cost are we paying these bills? At what cost? Are we paying it at the cost of our mental health? Are we paying it at the cost of our kids' well-being? Are we paying it at the cost of our marriage? Oh, so many stories. So many stories that I will not share. Many families broken up. Why? Of course, there are so many reasons why families break up. So many reasons. And you really can't, if you're not in people's shoes, you can't know exactly what's happened. But there is that need to sit and discuss and understand and align on what the focus is. Very important. Now let's talk about instances where, because you've not been able to find a job at a similar level of responsibility. So if I was to backtrack a bit, I would say that, of course, I got many of those emails saying, we regret to inform you, we decided to go with other candidates and things like that. So I'm not new to those emails. The question is, what's your strategy for finding a job that would allow you to focus on your important priorities? What's your strategy for that? I know it's challenging, but not everyone has to do something they don't want to do. And what I have realized is that many of the time, it's who are you talking to? Are you talking to the right people? What information are you working with? You might think, the only jobs that are available are care jobs. But that's not true. I don't work in care. Hats off to people who work in care. It's not easy. I respect you. But is that the only option? No. Are there other options? Yes. Do you have the information? No. Because a lot of the emotional trauma that moving abroad brings along is the fact that you now have to do something that is so vastly different from what you were doing before. I went through that as well, when I just couldn't find a job at the same level of responsibility or at a higher level of responsibility to the job that I was doing in Nigeria. That threw me off balance. It threw me off balance. It threw me off balance like you can't believe, because I'm like, is it that I'm not qualified? Is it that I don't know it again? I started to ask myself so many questions. I started to ask myself, like, what is going on? What is going on? Why can't I get this HR director job? But then it dawned on me that I don't even have the time for it. I personally don't have the time for it. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to leave the things that are very important to me because I want to become an HR director. I will always become an HR director whenever I want to become an HR director on my own time. Right now, the focus is to support these little ones that I have brought here so that they can be molded along the value system that we want them to be molded. But it's so easy to lose sight of that. I can tell you how extremely traumatic it was for me, because I felt like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not the plan. This is not what I am supposed to be doing now. But the truth about it is that my circumstances have changed. And the focus for now is way bigger than my individual career aspirations. I needed to learn to manage a different set of responsibilities. And I needed to be at peace with that. So for various things that I need, I got support. I got support when I needed help with parenting. I got support when I had some challenges with my relationship as well. Because, again, the environment is different. If you have something that is worth protecting, you're going to take actions to protect it. You're not going to keep trying to solve the same old problems with the same set of tools. And it's not working. So I got some support with that as well. The weather was affecting me. I wasn't going out. I wasn't able to exercise. I got someone to help me. I got a personal trainer to work with me on my own time. Why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this with you because our circumstances and our stories are much more similar than they are different. So maybe my kids are under 12 when I came. Your kids were under 4. We all have kids. I'm struggling with the environment. I'm struggling with the weather. You're struggling with the weather. We're all struggling with the weather. I didn't find a job at a similar level of responsibility. You've had to change completely from what you were doing. We're all in that boat together. So if we're all in that boat together, then we can share. We can swap stories. We can understand, so what did you do differently? What did you do differently? What has supported you to get to this point? Because the most important thing is getting help. I know so many people who, obviously, they don't want to speak out. No one's asked you to give the details of exactly what went down. But then we get the general gist of it. You're struggling in this environment. You're struggling in this area. Fine. How do you get help? Who are you talking to? That's another thing. Who are you talking to? Whose advice are you following? It's so easy to, hear something from Instagram and you start implementing and it doesn't work. Who is helping you? I have found that for every area that I struggled, there was support. The minute I requested for support, the minute I reached out for support, there was support. So I really want to encourage you. I really want to encourage you. I am not exactly there yet because there is an evolving picture. And the things that are driving the evolution of that picture are factors that are so important. So important. So it's not the same set of, the same set of parameters, the same set of measures that, okay, you know what, when I was in Nigeria, I was this, I was earning this, I had these responsibilities, I had this oversight, I was able to do this, yeah, that was then. And this is now. For a fact, I struggled with that, looking in the back rearview mirror. I struggled with it. I was always referencing it. But a friend helped me to realize that I would not be able to move forward if I kept looking in the rearview mirror. And that was solid advice. That was solid advice. So are you constantly looking back in the rearview mirror as well? Are you constantly replaying all that you used to do, all that you were able to do, how you lived? Are you constantly replaying that in your mind? Is that helping you? How is that working out for you? If you were like me, it's not working. It's not working. It is not working. It's not working, not in the least bit. It's not helpful. Constantly looking back, comparing what was. No, this is now. This is here and now. That was then. Whatever you had, whatever opportunities, whatever privileges, whatever, that was then. And this is now. So the question is, how do you move forward with confidence? How do you navigate forward? You're not navigating backwards. You're navigating forwards in this new environment with the responsibilities that you have, with the added responsibilities that you now have. And I know that some might not be in a position to navigate things the way that I have navigated it. Maybe you absolutely have to work. I work. Please, let's get it clear. I work. but I work in a job that allows me to be able to tend to the most important responsibilities in my life. And that is my choice. And you know, the minute that I came to peace with it, it made so much sense. In the beginning, I was like, no, I'd rather, be doing that. And it's so easy to continue to compare yourselves with people who used to be on the same level with you. But the truth about it, they used to be on the same level with you. They used to. You used to be on the same level with them. You're no longer on the same level with them. You have moved. You have moved. You have moved into a new environment. You have reset the clock. Not in a negative way, but you're starting from a very, very different pedestal. I'm not going to say that you're starting from ground one or from ground zero. No, that's not what it is. You're not starting from zero, but you're starting from a much different pedestal. So how are you going to manage your way forward? Who is in your corner? Who is supporting you? What kind of advice have you been given? What's the impact of that advice? How is that working out for you? The evidence is around you. So look around you. Are your relationships peaceful? Are you feeling settled or settling? Are things better between you and your spouse, between you and the kids? Are you getting settled? Are you settling? How do you feel emotionally? If your career is a big deal to you as it was a big deal to me, who is supporting you? What advice are you getting? What other options are available for you now? What other options could you look at? Could you consider that would work for your situation now? Because already you've paid a really, really high cost. The average family that moves out of their home country would have considerable amounts of money set aside to do that. Either money they have or money that was available to them through loans, friends and family support. That's a lot. You have already done so much. And that's what a friend of mine keeps reminding me. You have done so much. You have done so well by making this move. Now, you need to make this move work for you. How do you make it work for you? And that's something that I feel is missing. Yes, I mean, again, my channel is focused on career growth and things like that. That's an aspect of life. That's not everything there is. The other parts of your life, who is tending to them for you? Who is tending to them with you? What kind of support are you getting? And the evidence can be very quickly seen in how things are going right now. So how are things going for you right now? I would definitely not claim to have found it, whatever that secret sauce is. I don't even think there's a secret sauce. No, I don't think so. And my concept of what that is, my concept of what a successful career is for me right now has taken on a new meaning. And sometimes we fight these things. I'm smiling as I remember this now, and I really have to share it with you. We fight it. We're like, you know what? We're just going to press down the throttle on this one. We're going to go 1,000 miles per hour on this one. So let me give you the gist of what happened to me last year. So last year, I was like, okay, you know what? Not a problem if I can't get that, very senior HR role that I would love to get. That was at the point when I was still thinking, that's what I want to get. That's what I want to get. And I'm not getting it. I'm just going to go full whack into, building my own business. And I started, coaching, offering coaching support services. Got my books out on Amazon. I've got 4 of them. Started my YouTube channel. Got very active on LinkedIn. Started to do a host of other things. Started recording podcasts. I burnt out. Remember, it's like, and I think I'm going to do another separate, it's like, I'm going to do a separate video about that. It's like, you have this jar and you're putting all those things in your jar. Remember, in this environment, childcare is in your jar, constant, is there. House care, managing, different schedules for the kids. All of that is already in your jar. And then I then said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write this book. And I did that. I did it. At what cost? By the time it was end of the year, I knew I was definitely going to take 2 months off. That's it. Got off social media for 2 months. Not a post. Not a post. I needed to catch my breath. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to feel less alone. I don't want you to feel like, oh, it's only you. And whatever it is that you're battling at the moment, trust me, someone else has gone through it. You just haven't spoken to them yet. And that's why you don't know what they know and how you can easily walk through that particular issue. Whatever it is, someone else has gone through it. So how do we then share these common experiences? How do we make these experiences available for you to listen to, for you to watch, for you to learn from, so that you can see that, no, don't go about it that way. That won't work out for you. So for me, personally, I have decided to pace myself. I have decided to pace myself. It was absolutely fantastic. It was absolutely an honor to have done the work that I did in Nigeria. But that was in Nigeria, and that was done. Now, I have a new set of responsibilities. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't proud of it. Because it didn't fit into my career trajectory. It didn't look like the next level of growth for me. You know how you're like, oh, that wasn't me being responsible for Ghana, Togo, and and Ivory Coast. No, that wasn't me moving into a regional HR role. That was me moving into a much more weightier role, where I then get to raise my children. And that's the focus. So someone could say, oh, but is that the only thing you get to do? No. I've had the absolute honor of creating 4 resources on Amazon as well. I have the absolute honor of recording these videos and sharing my experiences with the world. And so many other exciting projects that I have met the most amazing people on. But I am still settling. And I am still finding my balance. And I wish you the same as well. I wish you the gift of settling and finding your balance. And not the pressure of feeling like you absolutely have to do this. You have to work. Of course, you have to work to pay your bills, but what kind of work? What hours? Will you still be able to tend to the most important people in your life? That is the question. Will you still be able to tend to yourself? Will you still be able to live? Or will you constantly be in hustle mode? I don't know about you, but my understanding of what this move would mean for me personally has evolved massively in the last 2 years. I'd initially thought, you know what, I'm going to get a role at a similar level of responsibility. And my major parameter for measuring my success was my career. Is that your major parameter as well? Is that your major parameter as well? That's not my major parameter anymore. That's not my major parameter anymore. Right now, I am recharting my career path. I'm focused on supporting others to rechart their career path. It's almost like, I say, oh, we need to go back to the drawing board for this one. Yes, we do need to go back to the drawing board for this one and situate it properly amongst the other more important priorities for me. More important priorities. And I wish the same for you. I wish the same. I really do. I really do wish the same for you. I wish you had the support that you need. I wish you would get the support that you need. And that's why I offer a free 30-minute consultation. Let's just talk about it. What exactly is the problem? What's the issue? How do we navigate this without you sacrificing your mental health, without you sacrificing your marriage, without you sacrificing your relationship with your children, without you sacrificing your family? How can we navigate it? Because yes, I understand that, how someone could say, oh, but this is abroad. No one's going to help you with your bills. Yes, you're correct. No one's going to help you with your bills. We expect you to be fully responsible for your bills. But you can get advice. You can get support. You can get information that will make the decision better, that will make the journey less stressful on you. And that is what this is about. Being able to make better decisions because you're getting the right support, you're getting the right input. You have a support system. Yes, you don't have a nanny, a driver, a housekeeper, and a cook, but you could have support that can make all those various aspects of your life easier on you. And that's it. That is it. That is it. How has this been for me? I'm happy I'm at this point. I'm happier that I'm able to navigate this journey. I haven't navigated it alone, but I'm happy that I'm able to navigate it with all of the support system that I have. I'm happy that I'm able to identify the most important factors and to be able to prioritize the most important factors. I'm grateful for the support that I have gotten. And if you ever need that support, reach out for it. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And that's because there is constantly evolving. The picture of what there means for me is vastly different from what I had in mind 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, when I came to the UK, I fully expected that I would get an HR role that is at a similar level of responsibility or maybe even higher. 2 years later, my reality has changed and I am grateful for the change.